I have never had a proper male role model. What did I miss out on? Story 1. There were many, but one of my favorites is this. After the first time I got my ass beat in martial arts way back when I was about 10, I wasn't really hurt, but my ego was destroyed. A guy about 4 years older than me took me down. So I was lying in bed, being upset, snapping at my sisters and my mom when they tried to talk to me, and moping. I remember my dad just came in and looked at me. Then he walked up to the bed and said, "Get up." My dad was always soft-spoken with his family, not one to raise his voice. The command in his voice scared me, so I immediately got up. Then he gently shoved me, so I fell back onto the bed. I was confused and asked what was happening. He said again, "Get up." I got up again, freaking out because I didn't understand what was happening, and I started crying. He shoved me gently again. The shoves weren't painful but forceful enough to make me fall, and I couldn't stop it. We repeated this cycle a few times. I got shoved back down and got up while crying in fear and confusion. Each time I was down, he told me to get back up. Finally, I got up without him telling me. Then he gave me a big hug and said, "It's not how many times you get knocked down. It's how quickly you get back up." That lesson still stays with me, in my heart, my mind, and my behavior. It doesn't always work. Sometimes life is too tough, but it is a good and true lesson. As a man, no one will respect you if you stay down. You also likely won't be helped by anyone. You need to get back up, and you need to do it quickly and persistently if you want not just to live but to thrive. It's a difficult lesson and a painful practice, but it is true, it is wise, and it will help you. Edit. Thank you for your kind words. I'm sure my dad would be happy to know that the lessons he taught have helped more people. Story 2. Money is out there and it is easy to make. No money, no honey. Be resilient and stoic. He is Chinese, so he explained it as, if you can pick it up, you can set it down, meaning you should never become so dependent on any single thing or person. Everything is expendable except you. And as an extension, nothing is worth killing yourself over. Story 3. The most important lesson my father ever taught me was, do not cry when you have to kill a pest. I was about 8 years old and I cried because he killed a bat in front of me. Story 4. If you are going to do a job, do it to the best of your abilities. When you say something, mean it. If it is broken, fix it. Story 5. To apologize when you make a mistake. We will all make mistakes from time to time. Own up to it. Say you were wrong. That you're sorry. That you'll try to do better. If you do that, I can forgive a lot, and I will respect you more. Story 6. It was a tough lesson learned through his passing away. I learned that if you love someone, do everything you can to let them know it. I was a difficult kid born in 1977. He was a World War II veteran and died when I was 19. We had no meaningful way of relating to each other. I would have loved to have him around once I grew up. Rest in peace, Pops. Story 7. My biological father did nothing. He got himself killed when I was 3 months old. My stepfather, whom I called Dad, taught me too much to list. How to be a man, a father, and a partner, and how to do many useful and practical things. He was amazing. Story 8. My father had a stroke late in life. I used to visit him in a nursing home regularly, and his dementia led him to tell me all sorts of things I preferred not to know. He did a lot of things back in the 1970s that he probably should have kept to himself. I learned from my father that sometimes you need to keep secrets forever. Story 9. He taught me that even your father does not know what is going on half the time. Of course, it is important to provide for your people, but remember, we are all just winging it. Story 10. The people you idolize and put on a pedestal are not perfect. They do not know everything and they make mistakes too. Even if you trust them, do not take their word as gospel. The world is small. Always protect yourself and do not burn bridges unless you have to. Story 11. He never told me directly, but he showed it by example, helping others in need, at least financially. Although I have been hurt before by a friend and a family member, now I help more cautiously. Story 12. Mostly how to work with cattle and multiple other animals. It is important to know when to act boldly and when to retreat for your safety, especially around 1,000 to 2,000 pound animals. Story 13. The power to enact violence without repercussion is the same as the power to choose not to. Translation: bullies are weak. Story 14. You do not have to be a good person to be successful and to find love. Just because you find love and want a family does not mean you should have one. Story 15. To not abandon my children. Seriously, I have no relationship with my father at all. I do not even know what he looks like. The best lesson is that I do not want to do that to my children. Story 16. Self-reliance and perseverance. One of the things he used to say to me, which in the light of the sun doesn't sound delightful or poetic, actually goes to the point of these things. We would be working on the car or doing something around the house, and I would be helping him. There would be a bolt or a screw or something that I could not remove or overcome. I would make sounds like I was going to give up or that I couldn't do it. He would say, "If you give up, the problem is not going to go away. It's an inanimate object. You are smarter than it. Think about the problem and solve it. Not every problem requires muscles." He was right. Many problems can be solved with self-reliance and perseverance. You don't have to be a genius or incredibly strong. You just have to think about the problem and work at it. This applies to any obstacle. Story 17. My favorite lesson was always to try to do the right thing. He never said it that way, but it is how he lived. If he could help someone, he would, and he would never expect thanks or praise. If there was a question of doing what is fair or putting himself in a better position, he would do what is fair. I try to live by that in everything I do. I am not perfect and I do not always choose wisely, but I try. Story 18. The place that sells cigarettes and milk is a long way away. 44 years and counting, still not made it back to the house. Story 19. My dad always taught and showed me that if you treat people well, you will do well. We worked together for about 6 years, and I was able to see firsthand that advice lived out by him. Story 20. My dad always said never to invest too much time working for the same company. He did, and he regretted it as he saw younger employees come in with better jobs. He was eventually laid off just before retirement despite investing so much of his life in one company. I am not sure if I actively took his advice, but I have never stayed at the same job for too long. I kept moving from one position to another to get a higher wage and better benefits. Now, with enough experience and contacts, I work for myself and charge what I want. Story 21. Society is cruel. Earn an honest living. Help others without expecting anything in return. Crying is not weakness. Just don't cry in front of those who need you. Asking for help is not stupid. Not asking for help is stupid. Your children are always watching you and learning from you. What you have is what you have. Stop looking at others. Don't live beyond your means. You have to treat your spouse with respect. That was someone's child before they were your spouse. Keep your life off social media. Learn to take a joke. Not everyone cares about your feelings. Make decisions that make your life easier, not to please others. Lastly, don't put your genitalia in a place it does not belong. Story 22. Many, but the one that always comes to mind when I see this question is, measure twice, cut once. If possible, give yourself some extra slack to work with. While this advice originally referred to running wire out of an electrical box and is very good for that purpose, I have been surprised by how often some variation of this applies to many aspects of life. Story 23. Measure twice, cut once. Do not rush a job. If a job is worth doing, do it right. Do not tell everyone your business. Never be a borrower or a lender. Knowledge is power. Listen more, speak less. Worry about it later. Tomorrow is another day. He also taught me do-it-yourself, how to make the best cup of tea, how to drive, and gave me a love of history and reading. I miss him. Story 24. People are for using and then throwing away. Win if you can. Lose if you must. But you always cheat. Thankfully, he abandoned us when I was a high school freshman, and I have modeled much of my life on not being like him in any way. Story 25. Do what is best. Do what is right. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Never use your powers for evil, only for protection and self-defense. Everyone is your neighbor. Everyone is your friend unless they prove otherwise. Cherish all until the very end. Story 26. My father is not the ideal male role model in my opinion, but he taught me about keeping your word, having a good work ethic to be the provider, and taking care of your family. Story 27. Business. You are not going to ask anybody for anything if you cannot get it on your own. Also, how to farm, start a fire, fix a car, fix a computer, and how to properly cut down a dead tree. Story 28. Do not wait to buy a plunger until you need one. Do not rush if you really have to use the bathroom. Story 29. My dad taught me quiet resilience. He taught me that you are as capable as you are willing to be. He taught me to be supportive and caring toward your family. He taught me plenty. That just scratches the surface. Story 30. Only bullies make women cry. I was a disrespectful son in my early teens and made my mom's heart hurt. Dad disciplined me, but that was nothing new. After the discipline, he said that to me. I never made a woman cry again, except maybe after a breakup. Story 31. How to walk away from a fight. How to fight. How to weld. How to fish. How to shave. How to work hard. How to be kind. Story 32. How to hold the flashlight steady and focus on where it needs to be. Also, how to actually control and channel my attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Learning how to make yourself lock in and focus on the task at hand is invaluable. Story 33. Fix plumbing, run electrical, change everything from a tire to a water heater. Learn how to resolve conflicts and treat those who choose to be close to you better than family. Story 34. When dad cheats on mom, she's tougher than she looks. She'll throw him out and struggle through the divorce, him not paying child support on time, not picking us kids up for visitation, and much more. But mom is tougher than she looks, so she will build a very good life for herself. Story 35. None. Absolutely none. I am an illegitimate child of an adopted mother who had an affair at the age of 18 with a man over 50 years old who was married. I am 63 and only found out 6 to 7 years ago who he was when I did an ancestry DNA test. The father's name on my birth certificate is that of the man she met after she was already pregnant and did not tell him. I had numerous stepfathers by the time I was 6 years old, although she has been married to the same one for 57 years now. He is the worst of them all. I have not spoken to my mother in over 20 years. Sorry, I cannot offer any hope or guidance for you. Story 36. Plumbing, drywall, flooring, framing, stucco, appliance installation, tires on cars and motorcycles, water heater installation, car repairs, housing preparation and painting, tile and marble installation. My dad would not do roofing or electrical work. I am very blessed to be able to fix my own house and do repairs on my dirt bikes and cars. I have a garage full of tools and I use them. I fix everything on the rental property I own. He gave me a long love of motorcycles. I have a garage full. Story 37. None. He left when I was 3 months old, but my mother was a great mom, and I have found many great male role models in my life. Story 38. Do everything with alacrity. A cheerful willingness. It is okay not to want to do something, but if you are going to do it well and do not make a fuss about it. This mindset transformed chores from a horrible burden into a meditative moment to step back. Helping friends does not leave me feeling owed, but rather like I spent time getting to know someone. If I am assigned something I really do not want to do but someone has to do it, completing it is an accomplishment. If I kick and scream and make a fuss, the task will still need to get done. It will take longer and I will be seen as immature. Story 39. Change a tire. Change oil. Work on engines. Overhaul an engine. Body work. Woodworking. Hunting. Fishing. How to treat people. Story 40. My father was absent throughout my childhood. Although he earned a good income, none of it supported his children. He died 12 months ago. Since he was not present in my life as a child, I chose not to be involved when he grew old and suddenly wanted his children around. I did not attend his funeral. Story 41. Be peaceful, not harmless. Respect is earned, not given. Treat everyone equally and as you want to be treated. Never pick on someone smaller. Speak your mind. Never make rash decisions. Buy proper tools. Story 42. He inadvertently taught me that after the second marriage, it is probably best not to involve the government in any other romantic relationships. Story 43. My dad retired after 30 years on one job. Sometime later, while talking about work, he quietly mentioned that he hated going to work the entire time, every day. His options were limited when he was young, as we grew up in a small town and he had a family to support. He was not one to advise or instruct directly. He taught by example. I learned that you get up and you show up. You do the best you can with what you are given, every day. Story 44. It was my father who finally told me it was okay to get a divorce. I was married at 22 in strong religious families on both sides with no history of divorce. After 9 years of being unhappily married, my father finally told me he would rather see me happy than married. That was all I needed to hear to finally make the decision. Story 45. Do not urinate or spit into the wind. Everyone has to believe in something. I believe I will have another beer. The stripper does not love you. Be nice. Things like that. Story 46. The only thing you have in life, no matter how far you are in the dumps or how successful you become, is your word. Story 47. If you do not surf, you would not appreciate many of the ones I appreciate most. He is starting to slip mentally, and there are things he taught me, for example, waxing a screw that will not go all the way in that I am having to show him again. It is really sad when he asks, "Where did you learn that?" And I have to say, from you. Story 48. Do not trust other drivers. Just because someone has their turn signal on does not mean they are turning. The opposite is also true. Story 49. So many. One of the great lessons I learned from my father was how to treat a woman. It was never a formal lesson, but my father always opened my mother's door when getting in the car or entering a building. When I started dating my now fiancée, she really loved it. Over time, I realized it really set me apart from other men. Story 50. My dad was born during the Great Depression and farmed. Despite having money, I was taught things other kids my age were not taught. I was taught how to drive tractors at 12 years old and combines at 16 years old. I was taught how to drive grain trucks at 15. I was taught how to fell a tree and cut and split it into firewood, as well as which species burn best. I was taught how to field dress and process a deer for food. I was taught how to skin raccoons as we used to hunt for fur. I was taught how to maintain and service engines, both auto and farm. I was taught that I was not any better than anyone, and nobody was better than me. I was taught to avoid debt at all costs, especially credit cards and auto loans. I retired at 54. Finally, he taught me his favorite quote, which I think Benjamin Franklin said, "Contentment makes a poor man rich. Discontentment makes a rich man poor. You can waste a fortune being discontent chasing the newest, bigger, best whatever. Be happy with what you have." Story 51. Bio. Not much. He taught me what not to be. That's about it. Custodian, legal guardian appointed by the state. He was a lawyer, so he taught me a lot about land deeds, taxes, my legal rights, how to be kind and caring, and in general how to stand on my own 2 feet. He didn't do the best, but he wasn't really expecting to be a parent at that point in his life. He was in his late 40s. When I came into his life, he tried his best, and having a child with severe post-traumatic stress disorder was probably a major handful for him. I know for a fact I was more than just a major handful. I was truly a brat. I can't blame myself either, considering what I went through, but still, life is like that sometimes. Story 52. What lessons did your father teach you? Any man who brags about how amazing sex is just pretending. He has never had sex and is only trying to appear cool. Story 53. That he was a coward. But my boyfriend's dad taught me a lot instead. He is a great man. No matter what bad things happen, there is always a way out. Things tend to work out, sometimes in a strange way, but that is life. He also taught me to drive along with my boyfriend. He is a great listener and gives solid advice based on his life experience. He has been through a lot but remains positive and friendly. Story 54. I had a dad that I recognize as my father. Biologically, he was not. I wasn't a stepchild. He just adopted me at birth. Even after he and my mother split, I would still go to see him on the weekends for years afterward. He taught me that the Atlanta Braves were the best baseball team. I remember him doing the classic dad thing and teaching me how to play catch, and that the N-scale model railroad trains were the most realistic. I didn't learn much because I was like 5, but I watched him fix up some 1968 Mustang. I don't know cars, so the year might be off, but this thing was a beater from my earliest memory, basically a shell of a muscle car. I remember he worked on it for years and took me on his maiden voyage, 8-track player and all. He showed it off to all his police friends at work. It must have been more than 5 years he worked on it. Watching him build and restore it one bit at a time over years showed me that anything is possible if you consistently work toward your goal with patience. I remember, when there was a tornado, he was prepared. He took action. He was a volunteer firefighter. Aside from being a full-time police officer, he made me feel safe when the sirens went off. The tornado was like 5 blocks away, but a 4 or 5-year-old has no idea what's going on, except that there are sirens and the whole atmosphere is ominous. Aside from that early part of my life, I have never really had a proper male role model. I am now in my 40s and wishing I had a mentor, not in the past but now. I have been wandering through life trying to figure out how to be a man with nothing more than my early memories and the best that my mother could surrogate. As a father, to quote Fight Club, "We are a generation of men raised by women. You're not alone in any of this. I am homeless. I have talked with some of the hardest, toughest men released from prison. When I bring up not having a proper male role model, they instantly soften up. Not completely, but you get the drift. The best surrogate I have found for teachings on how to be a good man is Stoicism, with some Buddhist principles thrown in if you are on the more passive side. Men have been writing books about life for centuries. You didn't have a father to pass their wisdom down, but that doesn't mean you can't go straight to the source and build off their wisdom with your own. Philosophy is my father. God, while I am 100% atheist, is my mother. The church and the community, not the perverted child-abusing church, but the everyday down-the-street church without a real denomination, yet somehow flying the same banner of compassion that brings people together in a true sense of community. Philosophy guides me logically. God guides me emotionally. We are highly emotional creatures after all, Skyman or not. Role model. Model yourself after your ideal of what you think would make you the greatest version of yourself. Then refine that, possibly by looking inward more or outward and taking ideas from philosophy, religion, spirituality, psychology, and even just something like traditional manly things like archery. Try it out. Get into it. Think about how primal it is. Think about how much better a compound bow would be. Or maybe you like a longbow for authenticity and connection with your ancestors. I have never picked up a bow in my life. It doesn't really matter. The idea is that you constantly have new ideas and put them together with other ideas. Are you a chess player? What if rooks could shoot arrows 2 spaces ahead? How would it change the game? It doesn't matter unless you can make that happen in real life. You are a man with ideas, a man with a mind that can expand far beyond what you are currently thinking. My mother taught me and gave me the grace to challenge what I think and believe without emotion. If there is one thing my mother did right here as a surrogate father, I think this is it. Anyone can guide you if you are willing to listen and aware enough not to listen to some people. I challenge you to think of 3 things that will blow your mind open in 3 different directions. Get out of the box. Get out of your belief system. You did not have a real father figure. This is where you are now. This is your starting point. Ground yourself in the present and look forward. This is what I would say if you were my child. Story 55. Keep pressing on even when things get hard. When I was a teenager, my mother was dying of cancer. My father worked long days to pay for her treatments and then stayed up late into the night to take care of her. He never complained or showed that he was tired. Story 56. My dad taught me to greet your woman when she comes home from work, to change the oil in my car, and to not try to have an affair with your friend's wife. Story 57. Time is the most valuable thing on earth. It is important not to waste it. Your hair is like a plant. There is no such thing as too much knowledge. You should know enough to not depend on anybody to do things for you. Do not look to get into relationships or get married until you are financially stable. Your name is everything. Never be afraid to defend it. You are too broke to be scared. There is a bag of money with everyone's name on it. It is up to you to go get it. People who use loud talking for intimidation are really punks. It is like a dog who constantly growls and barks, but as soon as you give them a treat, they will let you pet it. The teacher will never teach you all of what they know because there will be a time when the student will test them for overthrow. Let people be mad at you for being real instead of having everyone like you for being fake. Story 58. You cannot rely on others for approval when trying new things. If you want to do something, do it for yourself and not to please someone else. Story 59. A boatload. My favorite. Do not disrespect where you eat. This refers to not dating or having intimate relationships with the women I work with. Story 60. Learn a trade such as plumbing, building, electrician work, or engineering. After that, do whatever you want. In the worst case, you can always fall back on your trade. Story 61. The only things I learned from that alcoholic, womanizing abuser were how not to be a man, how not to treat women, and how not to treat my children. Story 62. If you are going to buy a coffee for your boss, make sure to buy one for their assistant as well because they are training to be your boss. Story 63. Never start a fight, but always finish it. If you are arguing with someone and it is getting heated, walk away for a few minutes to calm down. Cooler heads will prevail. Do what makes you happy. Story 64. How to dismiss your child or humiliate them. How to say goodbye to your child for the last time before you die by suicide. How to die by suicide. How to live with unresolved trauma for 30, almost 40 years later and have no family. Story 65. Nothing is worth killing yourself over, even if you do not understand why. He never said that, but his stubbornness to ever mentally mature taught me many things. Story 66. Nothing useful. When we went shooting, he just gave me a loaded .45 caliber handgun or shotgun and told me to shoot at the hillside. I never learned gun safety. I taught myself to shave. Story 67. Don't be a drunken, foolish person who ruins other people's lives. He is one. Since my earliest childhood, it has motivated me not to be like him. Story 68. The biggest lesson he taught me was through actions, not words. I watched him treat my mother with respect, even when they disagreed. Story 69. He taught me integrity, but ultimately that faltered when I learned how poor he was at parenting. It became a double-edged sword, and we are just now reaching a place where we can work on things 25 years later. Story 70. Many lessons. My parents are from humble beginnings. Even though they have a nice, good retired life today, they also helped me through university and supported my sister with her own company, so they are an example to me. The first lesson was to be kind to everyone, really, from the cleaning lady to the chief executive officer. I have always done this and made many different friends in all the companies I have worked with. Even working with management, soccer games, and dinner hangouts with the maintenance people have always been awesome, fun, and precious moments. The second lesson is related. When I was a kid, about 30 years ago, one day on a Saturday, my dad gave way to a bus that caused us to lose some time in traffic. I asked, "Dad, why did you stop to let them get in?" He replied without even thinking or looking at me while driving, "That gentleman is working. I am not, so let him do his job." I was very proud of that insight, never forgot it, and I had the opportunity to say the same to my daughter some time ago. Love you, old man. Story 71. He is not very smart, but he taught me a few things: how to string a bow, some gun knowledge, some car knowledge, some Star Wars knowledge, how velocity and aerodynamics work, probably some other knowledge. Story 72. How to notice the signs that an incident is about to start, and when you should leave or prepare to take action. Seeing him stand up for an Indian girl on the bus who was being attacked by a racist person had a big impact on me. I find it difficult to do nothing when someone is being abused or attacked. I have gotten into trouble, but it actually pains me if I don't do something. Most people are fundamentally the same and decent. You should not be scared of every interaction. Finally, when I felt embarrassed for doing something, he told me that people forget. I will do more embarrassing things, and so will everyone around me, so I should not worry too much. Story 73. How adults are constantly trying to understand what they are doing here, without any success. Story 74. Not sure how accurate this will be, but I used Claude to broadly categorize the approximately 200 father's lessons here for anyone who might find it interesting. Work ethic and responsibility. 45 comments. 22.5%. Practical and mechanical skills. 38 comments. 19%. Character and integrity. 35 comments. 17.5%. Relationship and social skills. 28 comments. 14%. Financial wisdom. 22 comments. 11%. Emotional intelligence. 18 comments. 9%. Life philosophy and wisdom. 14 comments. 7%. Story 75. To never need a person in your life but want them there. Sometimes you have to be happy with your own company. Story 76. Do not start drinking. Do not drink heavily. Actually, I figured that out myself. He did not even teach me that. He is barely present in my life. Anytime he shows up drunk, acting like a jerk, and looking like a mess, no one likes him or wants to be near him, not even me. Story 77. Still grave, if I tell you not to do drugs, you will do drugs. Do me a favor first and observe people on that drug before you decide to try it. I will stick to marijuana, thanks. Story 78. My dad taught me what a real father should be by being a bad father. I grew up knowing what I wanted in a father. Story 79. The best way to be is to be nice to everyone all the time. My father is always kind to everyone he meets. He takes time to get to know the people in his life, not just his family and friends, but also the receptionist, building manager, and custodians at his office, the people who run the front desk and office at the storage facility where he rents space, and new faces at the church he attends. When people who know him learn that I am his son, I can tell they automatically think more highly of me because of it. He is truly an amazing example of how I believe we should all live. Story 80. I learned from watching him to stay in school and stay away from drugs and alcohol. Once he went down that route, his life went downhill. My family was poor when I was growing up since my mother was the only provider in our household, and my father never developed the discipline or ambition required to keep a job. Story 81. Saturday is the Sabbath. Jesus commanded to love your God as Father and created the Sabbath. Just sharing information. Not many people know we are supposed to practice it. Following up on Jesus' Last Supper. Don't follow the crowd. Peter and the other apostles replied, we must obey God rather than human beings. Acts 5 verse 29. Each of you must respect your mother and father, and you must observe my Sabbaths. I am the Lord your God. Leviticus 19 verse 3. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.